Calibre is a great app for organizing your ebooks in your Kindle library, especially now that Amazon's changed a few of the ways that we manage and own the ebooks purchased through Amazon. If you're buying from a different source and still want a great way to organize your library as well as add them to your Kindle, I want to take you through my basic setup that's super simple with using Calibre. I find that most people with large Kindle libraries face some of the same issues where you get duplicates of books or samples plus the full copies scattered around, maybe incomplete metadata and covers that don't all match up and align nicely. And this happens over time, especially if you're buying ebooks from other sources than just Amazon. And then there's also the issue of managing collections as your books and series get larger and larger. Calibre can help you to manage this in a much easier way than just trying to rely on what's within the Kindle software itself on your computer. So let's jump into the software and I'll show you how within 60 seconds you can quickly get your ebooks that you've purchased from a site like ebooks.com into your Kindle and how to set it all up so that it's really quick each time you want to manage a new ebook on your computer and in your Kindle. Now, I'm sure there's tons more features and functionality with Calibre than what I make use of, but I really keep it simple. When you jump into the software, what you'll see first off is it's basically just a place to organize all of your ebooks in like a file library. A couple of other things are along the top is where you'll see some of the plugins, which we'll talk about in a minute. And the only other thing that I really make use of is there's the connect and share button, which is important for being able to send it to your Kindle. And there's the edit metadata, which is useful for making sure that all of the data that comes in on these ebooks that you buy from a different source than Amazon may not always have the cover that you want, or it may not have the data all sorted exactly the way you want. And doing a quick 60-second setup with the metadata when you first have the ebook set up is a really easy way to make sure that it looks the way you want it to. So first off, what you need to do is download Calibre. It's this calibre-ebook.com, and just download the version that works on your Mac or PC. So once you have it downloaded, then you can open it up. It's going to look just like this. Obviously, at first, there's not going to be any ebooks in there. So if you have somewhere on your computer where you already organize and sort your ebooks, like I do, I like to have a folder with any of the ebooks that I already have. So you can drag and drop all of these into your library to add them to Calibre, or just take your time, as you add new ebooks and build out your library. So we'll go through an example with one of the ebooks that I just got so that you can kind of see how this works step by step. But first, let's make sure there are a couple of other things that you have set up correctly in order to get the most out of this when using it for your Kindle. You want to make sure that you have a couple of the different plugins set up, particularly the Modify ePub I find very useful when sending ePubs that you get from somewhere other than Kindle over to Kindle. And the Find Duplicates one is also very useful for clearing out if you've got multiple copies of an ebook in your library so that you can kind of keep this nice and organized too. So all you have to do is in the preferences, you get the plugins to enhance Calibre. So all of the different plugins are within this library that's already built into Calibre. You don't have to go anywhere else to get these plugins, and you can just search for the ones to download. The Modify ePub one, you just have to click install to set it up. And then the other one that I find really useful off the start is Find Duplicates. So download or install those ones. You may have to restart Calibre at that point, but it's a really quick setup to just get those ones in place And like I mentioned, the find duplicates, when you click that one, it will go through and search to identify any duplicates that are found. So as we can see, I've added the 48 Laws of Power twice here, as well as this book, The Rider. I've actually got 2 copies of it. You can go through, and if you wanted to delete or clear out the second copy that you haven't, tagged or organized, you can do something like that. That's what Find Duplicates does. We'll talk about Modify ePub in a second once we get the Send to Kindle set up correctly. So the next thing that I really love about using Calibre and how it makes it so quick, even if you've purchased ebooks outside of the Amazon ecosystem, is this connect and share button allows you to just email these books straight to your Kindle device without any extra steps. You don't have to plug in your Kindle or anything like that. As long as you've got your Send to Kindle email address and you've got the proper email set up for it, which is what we'll do right now. So what you have to do is go into the preferences, and there is this sharing books by email. Now, you can add the emails. What you want to do here is make sure that under the Amazon Send to Kindle settings, which you'll find under devices and preferences, is you need to find what the Send to Kindle email address is for the Kindle device you want to send your ebooks to, and then also have your approved personal document email list. And I recommend using this setup for getting a GMX email because it allows you to send without any errors. I find it's just the most reliable. I've tried using just a Gmail in the past, and you'll often get it bouncing because this allows you to set up like the POP3 or the SMTP to be able to send it through this mail server. So it's very easy to do. You just go to this gmx.com, click the sign up for a free email, and then once you're in the email, there's within the settings, like I use this email for absolutely nothing else other than Send to Kindle, and it just functions in the background doing absolutely nothing other than that for me, and it works perfectly well. Go into the settings for the POP and IMAP and just make sure that this is checked off to enable access to this account via POP3 and IMAP. And if you need it, the SMTP server is down here, but it also shows you that in the setup with the email server right here. So all you have to do is add that to the host name, mail.gmx.com. Remember, make sure you have that GMX email set up first for you, and then you enter your username and password for that email. And you can fire off a test if you want to, but just then you can add that email from the add to Kindle, and it'll allow you to send those ePubs over. I also like to check off the auto send feature. And once that's all done, when you use that, it's going to show the different options in here, and you just click the email to that, whichever one is set up for your Kindle device. Now, I don't have my Kindle on me, but I do have my iPad with me, so I'll show you that you can even send this. It's going to go across your Kindle library when you send to that Kindle email address, so it'll sync up with any devices you want to read on. And we'll go through an example now just so you can see how this functions from the start. So this is a new ebook that I just added to my library. And so all you have to do is from wherever it downloads, if you go to ebooks.com or whatever, again, this works best, or this is meant for anybody that's not wanting to buy their ebooks through Amazon and perhaps have the risk of not owning that ebook. There was some controversy over this last year. I think there's a video on my channel where I talked about it, but lots of others have talked about it, and how switching away from buying ebooks on Amazon is something that a lot of people are in favor of doing. Wherever you get your ebooks, I still get a lot of ebooks from Amazon, but I particularly will do that if it's something that is unavailable anywhere else, or also for any of the ones that are like the $1.99 like flash sales on ebooks. It's just there's still a few less steps as far as syncing those ebooks with Readwise, which I like to do, and just getting it automatically sent to the Kindle. If it's only $1.99, I'm not as worried about the long-term ownership and potentially losing that ebook as if it's something that I'm paying like the full ebook price for. I'd rather have that EPUB copy living in my library for future reference if it ever disappears from Amazon. So with an ebook like that, you just drag it into the library and the first step is already done. Now, the next thing you may want to do is the edit metadata to look through and just see if everything looks like it's all good. You know, check that the author, the title is the way you want it formatted. If it's part of a series, you can add the series in. So any existing series that you've already sorted your library with, you can find, and then the number will associate it with that series. Now, the other thing that's really awesome that Calibre does is you can download the cover. So it'll automatically search across different sites for the best version of the cover, and you can add it if it hasn't already been, you know, in place in the first place. So you can even do this in one step with this drop down. Just click download metadata and cover, and you can choose to download both or just download only the covers, and it'll just automatically update the cover if it needs a better version of it. And it'll tell you to proceed if you want to update the metadata, or you can review it first. And I'll usually just click yes to update it if it's giving me a better copy of the metadata and the cover. The other thing you can do I find useful is if you haven't found or it didn't automatically find it, I will go to Amazon and just save the image there, because that's usually where you find the best image of an ebook cover on the internet, I always find. And then once you've done that step, the metadata looks the way you want it to, you can then use this modify ePub, which just makes sure that the formatting looks nice when you send it over to Kindle. Sometimes there will be different like artifacts in the text, or the chapters where they start and end don't always line up as well if you don't use this modify ePub first. I always like to do this. There's only one thing that I always check off, which is this encode HTML in UTF-8, and just click OK. It's going to prompt you down here and just click yes. It basically makes just a second version of the ePub that's the proper format, and it always sends that one over to Kindle so you get the properly formatted one. And then that's the final step, is use this connect and share button and send it to your Kindle. So sometimes this will take a while, especially if it's a larger ePub. Right now the limit is up to 50 megabytes for ebooks that are being sent over. So if you've got something longer than that or larger than that, you may have to modify it more first to cut down the file size. Typically that means removing images. Perhaps if there are extra pages that are large images or photos within the book, you might have to clear those out, which you can actually do if you open up the book in Calibre as well. You can go through and like delete pages if you need to by modifying the ebook. But once you've clicked send to Kindle and sent it through and you see that the job's been completed, it'll be on your devices within a few minutes. So I can see that the book's already been added that I just sent and organized through there. And so it is already set up in my Kindle library too. And once you've done this whole process a few times, it becomes really automatic and it only takes 60 seconds. You know, you just have to drag and drop that file into your Calibre library, add any tags or organize the metadata, you know, download or add the cover, and then just modify the ePub and send it over to Kindle. And it's just as quick as that to have everything organized. Plus you still own these versions of the ebooks, and they're in this library. So if you ever want to refer to them on your computer or send them to a different device in the future, you can do that. It's all under your control. So hopefully you can see why Calibre is so useful, especially if you have a Kindle or other ebook device and you want to keep that library in your ownership while also making use of the device that you prefer using. And so my challenge to you is to go out and try this with a series that you have or that you want to keep and set up in this way, and just see how it works for you. It's really simple once you get the hang of everything. And one more thing before you go, comment what your biggest pain point with organizing your ebook library is. I read every single comment, and it helps me to know what helps you as far as topics to talk about. Kind of like organizing and keeping thousands of ebooks efficient on your Kindle, which is something I talked about in this video here, where I go into more on using collections in your Kindle and how you can use different collections in order to keep your Kindle organized and efficient, and as well as managing highlights and things like that. So check out this video next.